framed versus frameless. I mean, Dennis, you're up in Pennsylvania. You say you do a lot of framed, which makes sense.
Yeah.
For that area of the country, it's very traditional. North Florida down here, also very traditional. We happen to specialize in frameless cabinets. That's our thing. We like them better. But let's talk about the difference between framed and frameless.
So they both have a box.
That's right, they do.
That's where it starts.
Very smart, Dennis.
Yeah. With a frameless, the box, you then put a door and a drawer on front of it. Typically, a frameless cabinet, maybe the side panels and the floor and the top are made out of a little bit thicker material, so you have the durability. One of the things that is important with any box, you want to be able to keep it from racking,
Right.
if there's pressure that comes against it. I don't know, I think when cabinets and furniture were first made, they had face frames. Typically, in a custom shop where I've worked at, you build the face frame first and then the box to fit it.
Gotcha.
I think a lot of times these days the box is built and then, then it goes from there.
Right.
So these pictures explain it really well. That there's a face frame, typically it's about 1.5 inches wide, it's 3/4 inch thick of solid wood that gets applied to the front of the box. And there's different ways of applying it. It could be a dowel joint, it could be a rabbet, a dado, a mortise, but you want to make sure that is on there good and secure, because that's what the door is going to hinge on. And so if the door is hinging on the face frame, but the face frame comes loose from the box, you still lost it.
That's right. Yeah. So just for people, this is a frameless cabinet, just to be clear. This is a framed cabinet. You can see before the door or frame goes on, they're the same. They're both boxes. They both have drawers. They're built pretty close to identically. The difference is the framed cabinet has a face frame put on. The frameless cabinet doesn't. Instead, what they do, and Dennis mentioned this earlier, they would edge band the edge of that box so that it has a finished edge. With the frame cabinet, the frame is providing your finished edge. So framed versus frameless. So who cares? Why do we care if we have framed or frameless? Well, there's a few reasons you might choose one or the other. One of the reasons we like frameless is without that frame, you actually get more storage, you get more access to the cabinet. So for example, on the right here is a framed cabinet. You can see the red frame, it reduces the opening size, and so you've got this sort of skinnier drawer box. The frameless cabinet to the left, there's no frame, so you get a taller and a wider drawer box out of it. So I'd say that's number one for me, why I like frameless better. Then the rest of frameless, it kind of comes down to aesthetics, and you can argue all day long about aesthetics, what looks better, framed or frameless.
Yeah.
Not as much difference these days, because most framed cabinets now are full overlay, which looks pretty similar to a frameless cabinet. Brianna's favorite, and we talked about this last week, are inset cabinets, which are gorgeous, but the only way really to do an inset cabinet is you have to start with a framed cabinet.
Yeah.
This is sort of our classic framed versus frameless example. This right here, this gray drawer that you see, that came out of a framed cabinet in our showroom. It came out of a 15-inch wide framed cabinet, and we've set it inside a 15-inch wide frameless cabinet. So you can see how much more room you're getting with that frameless drawer, that drawer in a frameless cabinet versus the drawer in a framed cabinet.
It might look small there, but that adds up in a space like a 10-foot long run.
Yeah. If you're doing a vanity with 2 cabinets, not a big deal. If you're doing a kitchen with 30 cabinets, it can add up.
Yeah,
it can add up real quick. Another advantage, Christy likes to call this little piece of the frame right here in her drawer the spatula catcher. And I'm sure we've all had the experience of trying to open a drawer, there's something caught, and there's
it's the worst.
Yeah, that's the worst. It actually just happened to me. I have a workshop at home, and I have a toolbox. Just happened to a toolbox, and I'm jiggling this thing trying to get it off. I literally ripped it right off right out of the box, and I was so upset. I just threw it in the corner, and I went back inside. Still sitting there. I got to take care of it. But with frameless cabinetry, there's no frame, so there's no spatula catcher, right? That's a smooth top right there. Again, although I did want to go back, Dennis, to your point, you can see on this construction, Dennis talked about preventing racking. With a framed cabinet, the frame plays an important role in preventing that racking. It strengthens that cabinet box. Another way to do it are with these cleats that they've strapped across the top that reinforces the box. These little corner pieces reinforce the box. So there are a few different ways to do it. Our cabinet company, Belmont, they just do solid tops. So all of their frameless cabinets are a complete solid top. So there's no spatula catcher at all. You can just barely see this cabinet in our showroom to the left of that Belmont cabinet. Has that cleat. That still does create a little bit of a spatula catcher. So it's not like frameless cabinets are all the same. You can still have that spatula catcher a little bit. Another picture of a frameless cabinet here. Again, you can see the edge banded front. Again, just wider boxes, wider drawers, wider openings is kind of why we like them. This is a picture of 4 drawer boxes coming together down here on the left. Frameless cabinetry, the standard is 1/8 of an inch spacing between everything. Whereas if you look at a framed cabinet, this is a full overlay framed cabinet. The picture's a little crooked, so it's making it look uneven, but I think that's just the picture. Still nice, still tight. You're probably looking at more of a 1/4 inch spacing in between. And then to the left here, this is kind of old school. You don't see this a lot anymore. This would be a half overlay door.
Run away if you do.
And you can see a lot of space in between. I would guess, Dennis, down here, 70% of the kitchens, if they're 10 years older or more, that down here, this is what they've got. These half overlay framed cabinets. Very popular. If your kitchen's 10, 15 or more years old, that's what we see.
Yeah, I would say for around here, it's probably more like 15 or older.
Or older, yeah, but very, very, very common back in the day. I wish we had you on and maybe we'll have to do another one and bring you back on to talk about history of cabinetry. Last week we talked about a little bit about the history of cabinetry, how they used to be site built, and then you could order them, but only by the truckload. And then then you could order them by the kitchen. It's super interesting how cabinets have just sort of evolved over time like that. And you can see how these spaces, if you're site building cabinets, having this kind of wiggle room is nice.
That's right.
When you move to a workshop or factory manufacturing, the tolerances get tighter. Anyway, a little bit of a segue there, but the history of cabinetry is kind of fascinating. Again, here framed. In red here, you can kind of see the frame, and you can kind of see how the door overlays it. An important distinction are as hinges. The hinges to on a frame cabinet attach a little bit differently. We've got, these are soft close hinges here, but they attach, like Dennis said, to the frame. Do we have a picture of a frameless cabinet?
Of the hinge?
I don't think we do. Of the hinge, I'm not sure we do. Go down.
Right there.
Yeah, so here you can see frameless cabinet, the hinge attaches to the side of the box. It's a different style hinge. I don't know there's a pro and con to that. They're just different style. Dennis, you got any thoughts on that?
You're right. It's a different style, but when it's the frame, then the hinge always sticks in a little bit farther. So now you have the thickness of the frame plus the hinge. So you have that much less space as far as getting a big pot or a pitcher or something in and out. A little
less click, a little bit.
They've improved that. There again, 12, 15 years ago, that was a real big knuckle. On the side here.
But I would say minor issue today.
When
you're looking at framed versus frameless.
Yeah, you mentioned the soft close on that hinge, and that, you know, that's kind of become a standard anymore. So there was maybe what 6-8 years ago, it was hit or miss as to whether they were soft close, and so that was one of the telltales of a better cabinet. You know, if they spent the money for the extra hinge, but everybody's doing that.
Yeah.
And not all, but the majority are using hardware that has a lifetime warranty. You know, and because so if there's an issue, you give a call back. But thankfully, there really aren't. And they now have 6-way adjustable hinges. So it's in and out and up and down and left and right. And that becomes real important. The closer the tolerances are, like on this picture with the drawer fronts of the 1/8 inch, you know, if you're off just a little bit, you're going to pick that up really,
That's right.
really quickly. So it's important to have that adjustment.
Yeah. I wish we should have got a close-up picture of that. But if you, on this hinge, just with a screwdriver, there are 3 little screws on that hinge that allow you to move that door left, right, up, down, and in, out, which is fantastic for an installer. You know, you install all the cabinets and then you go around and you can tweak everything so that it's perfect. And then even over time, eventually doors are going to sag a little over time. Things are going to change. Houses move, shift a little. You can go in and it's very easy to tweak those.
Yeah.
Another thing I was going to point out with these modern hinges too is that door you can remove it with just push 2 little buttons, and those hinges snap off, and you pull that whole door off. Which, as a homeowner, you might not think you need to do that a lot, but if you ever need to clean that cabinet or touch up that door or any other reason, that door comes off super, super easy, which is nice. Same with drawers now. Very easy, just a couple little buttons and pop, they come right off.
No tools needed.
No tools needed. Yeah, we like that.
It's interesting. I remember early on as a young man learning the trade, and when you're installing a kitchen, typically we take off all the doors and drawer fronts and we're getting all the boxes in place, and then you come in and finish up. And one of the last things is lining those all up so that everything looks nice and even. Before they had hinges that were adjustable, you had to do a lot of shimming.
Yeah.
Like we didn't ever throw cardboard from a cereal box away.
Right.
That went in the truck. You cut
That's
those
right.
with your knife so you could put it behind the shims and get things lined up.
Yeah, it was that thick, dense cardboard that worked really well for shims. Yeah. Yeah, you're 100% right there. Another good picture of full overlay here on the right, and then same exact door style, but with half overlay. And you can see the space exist in between. Now, again, is that terrible? No. It's a different look. I like the clean look of the full overlay.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with these cabinets on the left, though. They work just as well. Even the space is the same. This cabinet's built on the left is built the same. The frame's the same. The amount of space is the same. The only difference is the doors are bigger on the right cabinets than on the left, so they cover more of that box.
Right.
And then we've got Inset. Again, we're back to Brandon's favorite.
Yeah.
A lot of designers like Inset, and Inset's a beautiful cabinet. As a very practical man, though, I just can't get over all that wasted space.
Yeah, you definitely have to have a lot of space. A big kitchen is where it's best.
But also an expensive way to build a cabinet. Tolerances are very tight. It's definitely a more expensive look. Although, Dennis, you were mentioning you work with some companies that are doing Inset, very nice Inset at a lower cost now.
Yeah, it's the same cost as full overlay.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
That's pretty new. Again, as manufacturing gets better and better, it gets easier and easier to do these, what used to be considered real high-end things.
Yep.
One thing about hinges with this style is a lot of times it's the barrel hinges.
Yeah. A lot of times you won't get soft close on Inset because they use these barrel hinges.
Yeah.
A lot of soft close hinges, I don't know if they just have a little too much slop in them to work for Inset, or if they just don't work because of the way the hinges mount. But yeah, usually using barrel hinges on on inset cabinets.
Yeah, we go both ways with them. I really tell the homeowner it's an aesthetic choice. Do you want to see that or not?
Yeah, they even make you can do a hidden soft close hinge, and they make a fake barrel
Yes. Yep.
that you can
Oh,
put
yeah.
on, so you get the because barrel hinges aren't soft close, but
Yeah.
you get the soft close hinge, and then you put on this decorative barrel, so you still have the
Yeah.
classic barrel look.
But and the otherwise, if you have barrel hinges, they make a soft close plunger that you can mount. So yeah, you can slam the door, but it's going to stop at like 3-4 inches out. So you don't get the satisfaction of hearing the door slam.
You don't hear that. Right. Yeah. Yeah. You can't slam anything these days.
Yeah.
You can't slam a toilet seat. Can't slam a door. You can't do anything. What do you do if you're mad?
Maybe it's going to do away with our tempers.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, and I would imagine up in your area, you know, if you're doing historic renovations or trying to restore, you know, trying to remodel to a certain period, I mean, inset cabinets are, you know, that's kind of where they're at.
Correct.
Yeah. So, but all right, get down to the nitty gritty here. Box construction. Oh, you know what? You reminded me of something, Dennis, before we move on to that, because you made a very a point I want to highlight. You talked about how soft close hinges used to be the sign of a quality cabinet because they only higher quality manufacturers would use them.
Yeah.
It used to be that a dovetailed drawer box was a sign of a quality cabinet because only the better manufacturers would use them. As manufacturing processes have improved and the cost has come down on those things, now we're starting to see them everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an important point if you're shopping for cabinets. Don't get fooled into thinking it's a quality cabinet because it has soft close or just because it has dovetailed drawers.
Yeah.
Those things are everywhere. Those things are in the cheapest cabinets, and those things are in the highest quality cabinets. There are subtle differences, the fit, form, and finish, as I like to call it, between the better quality and the low quality are definitely different. It takes a bit of a practiced eye to see that sometimes. But don't let someone fool you into saying, oh yeah, it's a great cabinet. Look, it's soft close. You know, that's not what makes the quality cabinet anymore. That's a ubiquitous trait.
Yeah.
You know, there are some other things that make a cabinet better or worse. Would you agree with that?
I would. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of, I hate to keep slamming RTAs, but I feel like there's a lot of RTAs out there that sell on these points of, oh, it's all wood, it's soft close, it's dovetailed. Yes, that's all true, but they're all the lowest quality versions of all those things. And I feel like they're doing a little disservice to homeowners who, you know, don't know better, and they're buying something that they think is quality when it's really not. You know, I'm fine with you buying an RTA cabinet if you know what you're getting. If you're informed, you say, "Yep, I know what that is." Like, I'll go buy a Kia, and I know what I'm getting. I know I'm not getting a BMW. That's fine, and I'm paying that price point. I don't want you going and buying an RTA cabinet thinking you're getting a higher quality cabinet. So that's really my point when it comes to that stuff.